Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and welcome to the Advanced Audit and Assurance webinar to success for December 2023 exams. Now today is the day 4 of this ongoing webinar to success. Let's look at the agenda for the day 4. Now, in the preceding 3 days, I have touched upon the study strategy, which you should adopt for the last 1 month before exams. And then on the day 2 and day 3, I looked at the changes which has come in since September 2022 exams. And primarily those changes were around the question number 1 and including the professional marks, which I will be discussing on the day 5. We had 2 sessions on those changes because there were lots of changes to be discussed in. You can watch the day 2 and day 3 for that. Now, today is the 4th day. It's about the marking scheme update. Let's see what is in store for the discussion around marking schemes. So welcome to the day 4, and day 4 is to look inside the marking schemes of the AAA paper, the updated ones. Marking schemes are really important, and at times the students ignore marking schemes. You do find marking schemes at the end of the examiner answers, but the student tend to overlook it or don't take it as something important. If you're unaware of the marking schemes, either you are writing too less in the exam paper or you're writing more in exam paper. If, for example, a certain area has 1 mark per point and you have 6 marks, so ideally you should have written 6 points. But you were unaware of the marking scheme and you divided the 6 with 2 and you wrote 3. So you're writing less. So either you're writing less or you're writing more. Or in a certain area, when the marks were 2 for each point, and for a 6 marks answer, you should have written 3 points. You didn't knew about that, and you divided this by 1 and you wrote 6 points. So writing more than required is a waste of time. And definitely time management is a challenge in the AAA paper. Writing less itself is an issue because you will not be scoring the marks which are required for your success in the AAA paper. So let's ensure we have a clarity of marking scheme around the important areas which has a real powerful impact on the AAA 100 marks paper. The first one to start on with is a risk of material misstatement and audit risk. Just let me make some corrections to the spelling for audit risk here. Okay, that's perfect. So risk of material misstatement and the audit risk is the most important area, and that is the question number 1 of the AAA paper. And almost in every single exam setting, you do find a question around risk of material misstatement and audit risk. Let's see what is the most updated marking scheme in this area since September 22 exams. Generally, up to 3 marks for each risk evaluated. So each risk you are writing, whether audit or risk of material misstatement, you're getting 3 marks for each risk evaluated. Now, which of that risk is 3 marks? Wherever you're writing a risk which is derived from an accounting area and you are commenting on the accounting treatment in the scenario, justifying whether the treatment is, what is wrong in the treatment, what management did wrong in the treatment, and then you're telling what is the risk associated with this treatment adopted by the management, and then the associated understatement and the overstatement. You're fetching 3 marks for that. You know, materiality, commenting on materiality has changed since September 22 exam. I did guided you about that in my session number, in my session 3, which is the day 3, where I talked about materiality, determination, and the marks. So it's not like the previous version where you used to comment on the materiality every time. It's about putting the materiality up front and then talking about the risk under. So each well-evaluated risk is 3 marks, where you talk about accounting treatment, you talk about what is wrong in the accounting treatment, you talk about what is the risk associated with this accounting treatment, like something being wrongly recognized or something wrongly disclosed or something wrongly classified, and what is the impact on the financial statement, like understatement and overstatement, fetching 3 good marks there. But there could be some risk like detection risk, or like control risk, where we don't have accounting treatments and not much to write, those particular risks will still be worth 2 marks. So if you're writing about detection risk, the first year audit, or if you're writing about control risk anywhere in the scenario, you will still be fetching 2 marks for that. But for the accounting areas where you talk about accounting treatments, you identify the issue in accounting treatment, you identify the risk in the accounting treatment, and you talk about the under and overstatements, that is the impact, you are fetching 3 marks per well-evaluated risk. In addition, now this is very important, the students don't understand this. Look at this word here, in addition. This in addition means in addition to 3 marks. So 3 marks and in addition to 3 marks. Half a mark for relevant trend or calculation, which form part of evaluation of the risk. Maximum 2 marks. If you're writing a risk for 3 marks, suppose you're writing a risk around revenue recognition, and you're talking about the accounting policy, and you're talking about what is wrong in the accounting policy, and you're trying to justify that the revenue is early recognized, and for that reason, the revenue is overstated. Now, you fetch 3 marks, but there was a clever student who saw in the income statement that the revenue from the last year to this year has increased substantially. So he found the percentage. For example, the percentage rise in the revenue was like 25% over the last year. So once he said that revenue could be overstated, full stop, he wrote another line and said, revenue has increased from the last year to this year by 25%. This means that the risk of overstatement exists. Now, that is where you're getting an extra half a mark, because you brought a percentage into your answer and you connected that 25% with the risk of overstatement. But if you just write a percentage and it has no connection with your risk, then again, you will not be getting half a mark. I hope you understood my situation of revenue. So half a mark for any relevant trend or any calculations. At times, there is a certain meter in a scenario where you can do the calculation. You can find you can recalculate the finance cost because the parameters are given in. So if any calculation is done and connected to a risk, or if any trend is identified and connected with the risk, you're getting extra half a mark. So 3 will then become 3.5. But such situations will not be many in the exam paper. Mostly the situations will be around 3. There could be some rare situations which fetch you 3.5 marks if you're clever enough. How many half of marks you can take? Maximum 2. So that means maximum in a whole answer for audit risk or ROM, how many trends can you identify? Maximum 4 trends, or maximum 4 calculations, or like 2 trends and 2 calculations. But again, I just justified that I have never seen so many trends and so many calculations in one question. But still the examiner is saying if there are so many, you will get maximum 2 marks. So you cannot do them more than 4 times, trends or calculations. So an extra half a mark can be fetched. Be clever about that. Be clever about where you can find a trend or calculation and connect with the risk. If you're not connecting it with the risk, you're not getting half a mark. Connecting it with the risk, just like the revenue example I have given you. So this is risk and audit risk or ROM marks in front of your screen. 3 marks for well-evaluated risk. I did clarify where will you get the 2 marks, like detection risk or control risk. Rest, you will get 3 marks for every other risk in the paper, and an extra half a mark for trend or calculations if connected with the risk to a maximum of 2. Now, I did make this clear on my day 3 of the webinar that, for example, you get a ROM question or you get an audit risk question, and you have 18 marks. We saw that on day 3, and you have 18 marks. Now, first of all, from these 18 marks, you will deduct 3 marks is equal to 15. Why have you deducted the 3 marks? I taught you this on the day 3. These are 3 marks, 3 TM, 3 technical marks, which is for materiality. So 3 technical marks for materiality, and I did taught you that on the day 3. So 3 technical marks for materiality, and you're left with 15. Now, when you're writing the risk, you're looking at 15 marks, and ideally each risk is worth 3. So you're writing 5 risk. Yes, there could be a risk like detection risk or control risk where you're fetching 2, so might need to increase the risk from 5 to 6 then. But if you are able to find all 3 marks risk, then the maximum number of risk you're writing in the answer is 5. So see, you can save a lot of time. We even talked about examiner criticism yesterday, that the examiner was saying the student for an 18 marks risk answer write 9 risk, which is wrong. Because firstly, each risk is not worth 2 marks. And secondly, if you write 9 risk for an 18 marks answer, you are not familiar with the marking scheme. Because in the marking scheme, there are 3 marks for materiality. You're left with 15. And for 15, you need to see how many 3 marks risk I can write and fetch. I can just complete this requirement within an efficient time management. So please be clear with that. This is what we talked about yesterday on day 3. We have 3 technical marks for materiality determination. I just shown you the equation. So I've also given you the breakup of how you take the 3 technical marks on materiality. It is the same paragraph I used yesterday on day 3, so I'm not spending time on it. You can read it on your own, or you can watch the day 3 for materiality determination, that how will you get the 3 technical marks. So whenever you look at an audit risk answer question, or a ROM question, simply deduct 3 marks, because that's for the materiality paragraph, which you will put up front. And then every risk will be worth 3 marks, with the exceptions of 2 I just mentioned. So I hope you are sound and clear with how to go about this particular topic in exam paper. An alert. We saw this on day 3 in the June 23 paper. We saw a change of requirement. Examiner asked us to justify why inventory has been identified as a significant risk, and I did give you an answer for that. So every justification why inventory is a specific risk or is a significant risk, every why will give you 1 mark. So you will get 1 mark per why. So if you give 5 justifications, you get 5 marks. You give 6 justifications, you get 6 marks. Again, please do watch the last few minutes or last 10 to 15 minutes of the day 3 webinar for this particular question 1B from the June 23 paper. Justify why inventory has been identified as a significant risk. Another very common topic which comes in question number 1 is business risk, right? Each business risk is worth 2 marks. So if you have 8 marks or 10 marks in the exam, you divide this by 2 and you write 5 business risk. Even in a business risk, if you identify a trend and you relate that trend with a business risk, for example, there is a fall in the cash, or for example, there is a fall in profitability, and you tried connecting that fall in profitability with a certain business risk, still you will get an extra half a mark for that relevant trend, again up to a maximum of 2. So 2 marks, and you can still get 0.5 for any trend you identified, and you connect that trend with the business risk. But if you're not connecting it, you're not getting it. Connect is important. But again, these half and half marks is maximum 2. But again, there will not be many such situations in a business risk question. Might be 1 and 2 in the whole business risk answer. So that's the marking scheme for each business risk. And I did talked about this on day 3. Each well-developed business risk should be like 3 to 4 sentences long. You are talking about the significance of the business risk as well, in terms of whether it is hitting the profit or the revenue or the market share. Because for a listed company, a significant business risk will be the one which is hitting the profit, revenue, market share, or reputation, because these are more critical success factor for a shareholder. Okay, other important examinable areas apart from business risk, audit risk, and ROM. There are so many other areas which makes the 100 marks paper. Let's see what is the marking scheme for other areas in the AAA exam. Procedures, wherever asked for, it's 1 mark per procedure. So you look at the number of marks and you divide that by 1 and you write number of procedures. Ethical issues or professional issues or quality management issues, this is very common phenomena in AAA paper. Each issue is 1 mark. So you look at the number of marks and you know how many issues to write in. Actions, wherever asked in the AAA paper, each action is worth 1 mark. Evidence in working paper file, a lot of time the examiner asks you explain the evidence in working paper file, or examiner asks you to comment on the sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence. You must have seen questions like that: comment on sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence, or evidence in the working paper file. Each is worth 1 mark. So each comment on the sufficiency is 1 mark. Each evidence in the working paper file is 1 mark. Matters. You must have seen this word matters so many times in the AAA paper. Either it's the matters to accept a new audit engagement, or matters in a reporting question, or matters where you're talking about the accounting matters in a question of evidence. Wherever you see this word matter, whichever matters the examiner is asking for, you will get 1 mark per matter as per the revised marking scheme. So whether it is a matter in accepting a new client, or whether it is a matter in accepting an additional engagement from an existing client, or these are matters which you come across in a reporting question where you're talking about the accounting treatments, whatever matters. So wherever you see the word matter, you will just take 1 mark per matter and explain it, irrespective of the topic. Audit report question. Anything being asked in the audit report question, whether that is a critical appraisal, or that is a impact on report, or impact on opinion, or matters, whatever the question is being asked in reporting, procedures, actions, there are so many things which comes in a reporting question. Everything is worth 1 marks, as simple as that. Other assignments, there are so many other assignments like PFI, prospective financial information, due diligence, audit of social, environmental, and sustainability information, forensic audit. There are so many questions which comes on other assignments. Anything being asked for in other assignments, you will still get 1 mark for anything. So you're doing a question on due diligence, or you're doing a question on other assignments, any other assignments, you will still be getting 1 mark. This is the revised marking scheme applicable for December 23 exams. We know there used to be scenarios in the old papers, 1.5 marks and 2 marks, but such things have now been eliminated. Examiner has made the AAA marking scheme more consistent and more systematic across the paper now. Alert. Prospective financial information. Question typically asked as follow. If you get this particular question on PFI, the marking scheme will be a bit different. Let's see which question. Evaluate the assumptions used by management and the completeness of the cash flow forecast prepared, explaining why a particular assumption should be challenged and approached with professional skepticism. You must have seen this question a couple of times in the recent past papers. Evaluate the assumptions used by management, evaluating the assumptions and the completeness of the cash flow, and which areas of the assumptions should be challenged by the auditor. Generally, 1 mark for each evaluation of assumption. So marking scheme is still 1 for every evaluation of assumption, and half a mark for each relevant trend or calculation. So you will get an extra half a mark if you identified any trend or calculation when you are evaluating the assumption. So suppose you're evaluating an assumption and you think there is a trend which can help me evaluate the assumption, or there is a calculation which can help me evaluate the assumption, and you bring that into your answer, you will get an extra half a mark for that to a maximum of 3. So a trend or a calculation, half mark each time, but to a maximum of 3. So you can do it like 6 times across the answer. Half, 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 half. But again, they will not be so many. But every time you bring a calculation or a trend into your answer as part of evaluation of assumption in a PFI question, you will get an extra half a mark to a maximum of 3. So evaluation of an assumption is 1 mark, but if you bring a trend, it will become 1.5 marks. So it depends upon your cleverness. So that's a bit of a change in the marking scheme, bringing an extra half a mark. Be alert for that. Otherwise than that, all other things in other assignments, syllabus area F, now for December 23 exam is worth 1 mark. Gray areas, where we still don't have clarity much on marking scheme because they have not been tested in the recent years. They have either been tested way back in 2018, 2019. Going concern matters. We know question comes in syllabus area E, matters which may cast doubt on the going concern status. You must have seen that question a couple of times. Explain the matters which may cast doubt on the going concern matter. I just mentioned you that matters is 1 mark, wherever been asked for. But going concern matters. This is exception. So any matter in the AAA paper is worth 1 mark with the exception of going concern matters. It was last examined somewhere in 2018 when the examiner awarded 2 marks per matter. I believe it should now be 1 considering the entire marking scheme has come down to 1 for AAA. But last time when it was examined, it was 2 marks per going concern matter. Considering everything is now turning to 1 in AAA, this is a gray area, a subjective area. So we're not sure how would the examiner treat this now if it comes in December 23 exams. My belief is ideally it should now be taken at 1 to be on the safe side, because just to bring consistency with what's happening in the examiner mindset for all other areas of the AAA exams. Advantages and disadvantages or benefits, a lot of times the examiner asks for benefits of due diligence or benefits of any other thing, or advantages and disadvantages of joint audit. You can still keep 2 marks for each one of them. So you can still keep 2 for advantages, disadvantages, or benefits, something like that. Going concern matter, last time it was examined at 2, but my perception says it could still be 1 now from December 23 exam. So that's a bit of a gray area. Rest, I've just given you the marking scheme. It's all 1 now, all 1. Somewhere you get an extra half a mark for trend and calculations. Be prepared for that, like in a risk question or in a evaluation of assumptions for PFI. I hope you will take these technical marks seriously. You will ensure that these will help you writing an adequate answer in the AAA paper, not less, not more. It will save your time. You will do a time efficient answer in the AAA paper, because at the end of the day, the marking scheme is very, very important for the AAA paper. There is another marking scheme, which is professional marks, which I will be doing on the 5th and the final day of this ongoing webinar. I hope you will largely benefit from these marking schemes. You will take effective notes when you're watching this webinar day 4. Keep a pen and paper with you, and or you can just take a screenshot when you're watching into the lecture. So that is it for the day 4, looking at the updated marking scheme. Wish you all success. Your tutor Kashif Kamran signing off from December 23 webinars to success for AAA.